I'm Jade McNeil, and welcome to the BEESPACE Podcast, your bi-weekly dose of business and property realness. No hype, no fluff, and definitely no BS. Just honest conversations about what it really takes to build something from nothing. Okay, so it's officially 2025. Welcome back to the BEESPACE Podcast. So my first guest to welcome us into this year is the wonderful Shally Singh. Hi, Shally.
Hi, Jade.
Hello. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and New Year. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Shally, you and I have been working together. You've been on my one-to-one mentoring program for around 18 months now, I think, and we've
Yes,
got a lot done together in that time. So I was thinking, do you know what? I need to get Shally onto the podcast because you are one of those people that's kind of at the moment a little bit under the radar, but incredibly experienced and knowledgeable in your field of expertise within development. So, to kick us off, just kind of introduce yourself, kind of a little bit about you, where you are, and what you do.
thanks, Jade. So I'm Shally. I have been into property development since 2016. That's my full-time job at the moment. I'm also a business owner. I'm just about to launch a interior design service for property developers. So that's me in a nutshell.
And where are you based? Where do you develop?
So I'm based in Bristol, and most of my portfolio sits there.
In lovely artsy Bristol. So you mentioned there you've been doing this for quite a while now, development side, and I think you and I may have first crossed paths online on Instagram. I think around 2017. So not long after you just
That's right.
started. Yeah. Not long after you just started. So let's just before we kind of jump into all the projects and how busy you've been since. Let's just go right back to the very beginning. So pre 2016.
Mhm.
What was life like before property for you?
So it was very basic, very mediocre, I must say. I used to work for Laura Ashley, and I used to work in their merchandising department. So I was just doing a 9-5 job, no kids that time,
Mm.
and that was my juggle. And not just that, but I used to also do a weekend job. So I used to work 7 days a week, nonstop. That's
Mm.
what life was.
What was the catalyst? I mean, obviously you were working a lot there then, 7 days a week. You've always been a grafter, but what was the catalyst to go into property?
Um, so my major reason was I have family back home in India,
Mm-hmm.
mine and my husband's, and we had responsibilities where we had to help them financially and support them. So we were looking for a way where we could support them financially, but just being in jobs and juggling two jobs was not really working out. So we just came across a property seminar at that time, and we just thought to give it a go. And that's where it all started.
That was the beginning of the thread. What was your husband's background before getting into property?
What was the?
What was Vic's background before getting into property? What was it? Because yours was obviously kind
Um,
of retail head office based.
yeah, so Vic used to work as a front of house manager at Copton Tara Hotel in Kensington.
Okay.
And he used to work a good 60 to 70 hours a week.
Mm.
So, yeah, very busy job, very demanding. And that's what he did for pretty much 10 years.
Wow. I always find it really interesting to kind of go right back before people do what we know them to do now, or what the day-to-day looks like if they're in development. Because it's kind of good to know, like, what's the backstory and how are those transferable skills come into the current business. So that's really interesting to know. So that was kind of 2015 going into 2016. When you first began, what was the strategy like? What were you investing into?
So we were actually extending our own home, our
Hmm.
residential home. And as we were about to start that, we bumped into this seminar, and we realized that that was probably not the best thing to do. So we were just creating another liability rather than creating any assets. So we then changed our mind and we turned that family home into a HMO, started making income on it, and we moved out into a rental apartment,
Hmm.
which not just gave us income, which opened our eyes towards how HMOs could be a good strategy to start with. And then we moved out and we just started building our portfolio from there.
Wow, amazing. I mean, that's quite a radical first step, isn't it, to give up the your own residence to turn it into a HMO?
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite radical, I must say, because most of our friends and family, they were like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Oh.
But rather than living in a five-bed family home, we decided to live in a one-bed apartment,
Yeah.
uh, just managing the basics and focusing on building portfolios and creating income.
Yeah. I mean, there's having skin in the game and then there's doing that. So like full credit to you for like taking the plunge. I do think though, as you said that about family kind of looking at you going, what are you doing? I think anyone that gets into property development's gonna have a little bit of that around them at some point because people don't tend to understand the nuances and the benefits, or maybe it's risk and rewards of what we do and why we do it for the long term. So there can often be from friends and family kind of like that pressure to be, this is, are you sure you want to do this? This is crazy. But when you're armed with the right information and support, it makes sense, right, for the long term.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a lot of sort of rejection around from our families because and friends because that is not the normal thing to do. And what I call is we had a lot of red lighters around telling us, no, 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 don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not the best thing to do. But we had the right kind of support and education really in property investing, which helped us to kind of realize that we're doing the right thing and we just need to manage the red lights and the rejection that comes around with
Mm.
it. It's,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
quite normal and common with anybody who starts out
Yeah.
to kind of face that sort of a situation. But if you have the support and education, you know you're doing the right thing, and if you have a strategy in place, most importantly, then you just work on it, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like laser focus, right? That's definitely one of the things that I encourage with people I'm working with is to really commit to the strategy for your reasons and then actually execute it. Because in the past where we've kind of got, let's say, like a shiny penny syndrome, going, oh, let's go and try this, let's go and try it. It never works out, right? You've got to focus because that will get you momentum and that will get you to kind of like where you are today. So like fast forward then from sort of 2015 to 16, this is exactly like what you're 10 years down the road now in 2025. Um, you made the decision how many years ago? 2 years ago to move to Bristol, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, so we moved into Bristol last year in April, and that was one of the best decisions ever, really, because ever
What was
since
the
we've moved
trigger?
here, it was we had a couple of projects going on in Bristol, and we used to do a lot of traveling up and down pretty much every day in the week. So we just decided why not move there,
Mm.
and it just worked out, and it's actually worked out very well because ever since we've moved to Bristol, we've been bombarded our portfolio with deals and a lot of activity. So
Mm.
a good decision indeed.
Action takers. No messing. Okay, so you're in Bristol now, which I know that you love being there, and Bristol's such a cool, vibrant place. Lots of opportunity. So,
Yeah,
so give the listeners a little bit of an overview then about kind of the last year and
yeah.
the sort of level of projects that have been acquired and executed and are in development at the moment.
So when we moved into Bristol, we had a project going on, which was a pub that we converted into six luxury flats, and they are all serviced apartments at the moment. So that was the beginning or the main trigger why we moved to Bristol. So that project is done and dusted, and it's up and running well. Then we decided to get on with some flips. So the next project then we took on was a flip in a very good area of Bristol, and that is nearly completed now. So it's going to go on the market. Then we also completed on a block of 5 flats in Clifton, which is one of the most affluent areas in Bristol. That again is going to be a full refurbishment of a grade two listed building, and we're going to make those service apartments as well. Um, then we also exchanged with a delayed completion on a commercial to resi project, which is a shop and a block of not a block of, but a 5 bed HMO on the back, which we are going to convert into a 8 bedroom HMO with a smaller retail unit in the front. Um, and then I am just about to complete tomorrow actually on another flip that is uh, a auction property that we are going to fully renovate and then put it back on the market hopefully in 3 months.
So yeah, it's been a busy year. If you were to kind of,
Very.
if you were to just put it into context of kind of like the level of development here, if you were to put me a GDV on,
Yeah.
so the gross development value on all your projects that you've done, like for the past year, what would it look like in Bristol?
So this year we've done projects with uh, GDV of just under 3 million.
Under 3 million. Wow, amazing. And also, I know a couple of those projects you actually secured in auction conditions and pre-auction as well, didn't you?
Yes, actually, yes. We got 3 of those projects in the auction.
Yeah, amazing. And just for everyone to kind of understand how I've been supporting Shally through the process is really we've been focusing on the design side of things, haven't we? So, like for
Yes.
you, it's not necessarily the support I've been given is kind of like deal structuring or, anything like that or raising finance or whatever. It's been more around optimization of getting these buildings, turning them around quick, but making sure that they're beautifully designed projects that will, achieve the highest rents, achieve the best sale prices, but also systemizing that for you. So because there's lots of projects going on, that you can handle the process, you enjoy the process, because actually the design side of it is what you have always wanted to kind of conquer the most, isn't it, throughout the projects?
100%. Because I always had a good, design flair, and I used to enjoy doing up the properties and kind of choosing the interior themes and stuff. But before I met you, I was um, looking to kind of find a way to systemize and to kind of structure the way we design each building, which you helped me with massively. And we were looking to kind of also think about the end user, making sure that the properties are designed not just to look pretty, but to make sure that it best
Hmm.
suits the end user who's going to be living in there. So, for example, the service apartments that we did, we came up with a lovely artsy sort of Bristolian, design scheme that is working very well at the moment as well. And it's one of the unique properties in Bristol. If you even look at what's going on in Airbnb, it's something unique, and it's something that I'm incredibly proud of to be, have designed with you. And it's working out very well. So now our take on all our properties is to make sure that everything is systemized. Everything we're doing is, thinking about the end user as well, and making sure that it's not just pretty, but it serves its best purpose.
Amazing. It's like music to my ears. I think it's probably worth mentioning at this point as well that not only have you done all of these projects this year and played such a key role in execution, you've also had another baby in the middle of it all, haven't you?
Yeah. Yes. So I think when I first met you, I was newly pregnant, and my pregnancy was not nowhere near easy, you know that. And
Yeah.
but yes, we had a baby right in the beginning of the year in February, and we still went on and we did all these
Yeah, you
projects, and
did.
we're still doing it with the baby in the toy everywhere.
Literally, like it's mesmerizing, like the strength that we have as women, where we could just take the toddler, take the baby, we could just go and crack on. And that's been my story as well. Do you know, it's really funny actually, because I would say that probably 30 to 40% of the women that work with me as a mentor on the first session or two, they'll be like, I've got something to tell you. I'm pregnant. And I'm like, okay. And then I tend to do the entire pregnancy, and then I'll probably do like quite a large chunk of like baby times as well. So yeah, it's always a big honor,
Yeah.
it's always a big honor. So yeah, just to throw that caveat in there, not only are we developing all these properties, but also like growing a human and raising two small boys. Um, so a lot of projects going on. So I guess like a natural question is kind of like, what were the biggest challenges with having multiple projects, different sites on the past year?
Um, with the let's start one by one. Maybe with the pub, we had a lot of delays on the construction side, and there was loads of things that we were not aware of because it was our first big project of that scale. So there was loads of things like surveys and a lot of unknown stuff, like for example asbestos that we had to
Mm,
remove. That kind of a lot of unknown things that came up. And the way we tackled it was we just the way I tackle anything really is just to get on with it,
full
just
on.
to get things done, just to just to see what the solution is and just focus on that rather than dwelling on what a big problem is or what the
Mm,
issue has arrived. So I always do that. um, Another big challenge I would say was just being a new mom, having a really young baby on board, taking him to every single project. He's so used to it now. But that was a bit challenging as well. But I just try to focus on my why, and I just try to keep my head on, what the solutions are, and just my motto is really to just get on with it and just, get things done.
super resilient. I mean, most projects, especially as they get bigger, it is always about the unknowns and also the construction challenges. The
Yeah.
bigger projects, the more trades that you're relying on. So, yeah, I definitely can echo similar things in the past year. You mentioned before to us that you incorporated some flips this year, which is, I think, a first for you as well. And that was something that you personally really wanted to kind of get hold of the process and, conquer. What was the decision behind bringing flips into the mix of developments for you as well?
So, in our portfolio, we've had a lot of income projects, and
Mm,
we purely wanted to focus on capital moving forward. So that was the main driver why we wanted to do flips. Other than that, I personally quite enjoy the transformation process of getting a ugly duckling and making it into a beautiful swan. So that was the driver. But I think this was our very first flip as well. Like we've never ever sold a property in the portfolio.
mm.
So it was just something that has been holding on for a while, and we thought this year is the time, with Bristol being a great place to do flips as well. It just was meant to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think out of everything that we've done and do, it's my favorite part. And it's purely because I like the fact that you can take something, you can remodel it, rework it, improve it, develop it out, sell it on. And if you've got the key principles in place that you and I have discussed and that you've implemented in terms of who you're selling it to and etc., I think it's really rewarding, like the process,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. It's like, for example, the flip that we just completed, where you helped me understand the layouts and
mm,
optimizing the space, to thinking about how family could live in. I think when I eventually get a buyer, and I would see the joy on their face
yeah,
of
yeah.
how they could really see their family growing in that house, which was really neglected. I think it's very rewarding indeed.
I think with that one that you're talking about as well, in really cool, quirky area. And the house itself had a couple of issues, didn't it, in terms of it was quite high up and the garden was quite low. So you've put in like a raised some quirky features because it's not the biggest space in the world. So we really had to, you and I really looked at how to optimize that for a family to actually enjoy and be in the space. So you put a raised decking area out the back with bifold doors. So when that opens up, it's an inside outside space with like cool plants and stuff. Really looking at utilizing the kitchen space so it can be open plan, but it's got tons of functionality, cupboards, hanging space, so on and so forth. Opening up the living room into dining space with the glass crystal effect doors. So it's really, walking in and just ticking all those aspirational boxes, but also making sure that the function is there. Because particularly with families, well, we know because we've got two children, very different of what you need that space to do. You want it to just work for you and be functional, and like where are shoes going to go, coat's going to go, where's that going to go? It's all about
Yeah.
practicality, but then you don't want to sacrifice it being aesthetically beautiful at the same time. So I feel when it comes to flipping properties and you really understand who you're selling it to, that's where you can optimize success, is utilizing design, making sure that you create the best product for them that ticks that box of, Pinterest, living in Pinterest, but also function because someone's prepared to pay more for that. So like that's what you and I have worked on, like as you've been doing the flips. And again, as you mentioned there, I do think it's a really smart way for developers who we don't like to sell stuff. It's not how we're wired. We're wired to keep hold of assets. But if you can do a little bit of both, if you've got the experience in the team under your belt like you do, you can flip some stuff, replenish the pot, focus on the stuff that you're going to keep as well. So I think it's like a really smart move to bake into the mix. Obviously, like with the flips as well, I know that you actually were able to buy those you've raised quite a lot of private finance from your network, haven't you? So like talk me through that, kind of how you've done that and what your approach is, because for a lot of people that can be a blocker of like, oh, I can't raise finance, it's not possible, why would someone lend to me? But like tell me how, what your approach is.
Yeah, absolutely. So raising finance, I mean, it has been something we've been doing pretty much all our property journey, to be honest, because every single property I bought has been with none of my money. And the way we do it is really to think about the investor and to put my feet in their shoes and think, how they can trust me, what do they want to know, and how I can give them what they want. So a standard process that I have with any investor that we've taken on board is to make sure that all their needs are met. So I would invite them to see the properties. I would invite them to, uh, you know, uh, have a look at what we are doing, have a very comprehensive investor pack for them to look at, making sure that they've been getting competitive rates as well, interest on their money back. And it's really about being transparent on, what we are doing, what is our position, what we're going to achieve, making sure there's full clarity on the numbers and making sure that they trust us in the process as well. And I think being transparent is one of the main things. But when I remember when I started out, it was quite scary because I did not believe that this actually works. That why would somebody give me money
Mhm.
to invest in properties? But until that happened, it opened my eyes when I just had a go and I just created an investor pack and spoke to a few people in a property networking meeting. That really, kind of moved me because there were a few people who were interested and they were actually uh, interested to just get more details and then maybe move forward with me. And I remember my very first investor invested around 40,000 with me, and I got the biggest shock ever
Mhm.
because I was like, "Is this even real?" But it does actually work, and it's all a matter of building your credibility, being transparent, and just making sure that there's no doubt or any sort of hiccups that the investor has, and make sure that they get regular updates and regular all the numbers and stuff that they we send them every month, and we also send them pictures and stuff every month of what's going on. So that has been how it's been for me.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for taking us like right back to the beginning with it all and kind of sharing the process, because I think that that will be very relatable for a lot of people. This episode of the BEESPACE Podcast is kindly sponsored by the wonderful people at Landlord Furniture Co. Specialising in a huge range of high quality bespoke furniture, Landlord Furniture Co. provides durable pieces designed to last in your rental properties. If you're searching for the perfect furniture to attract professional HMO tenants or need more resilient pieces for your student accommodations, considering cost-effective furniture packs for a larger property, or looking for something more personalised to elevate your serviced accommodation brand, whatever your need, Landlord Furniture Co. will craft a solution for you. You can say goodbye to rubbish old flat packs and start investing in a luxurious experience for your tenants. Backed by a 3-year warranty and exceptional customer service, they really are the smart choice for any landlord or property developer out there who takes their properties, their tenants and their business seriously. So ready to transform your spaces with Landlord Furniture Co. and ensure that your investments stand out in the market? Visit Landlord Furniture Co. today at www.landlordfurnitureco.co.uk, or you can head to their showroom, which is in Oldham, or find them over on Instagram at Landlord Furniture Co. Now, let's get back to the episode. There was a situation in the summer where I think one of your flips just came onto the radar really quickly, but it was pre-auction and you need to complete on it. And I think you raised, I don't know, pretty much all of the development within about 24 hours from your black book. And I was like, I'm impressed, Shally. That's pretty good going. So yeah, it obviously clearly shows that that track record and those key relationships are there. So we're in 2025 now. So I know, you're going to be adding another string to the business bow, which is again something I'm helping you kind of really set up and systemize and create. So the design business, tell me more about it. Tell the listeners more about the design business. You've always wanted to do this.
So the design business, I think it just got evolved from my own passion for design, and um, I think where I decided that I want to do this is, and I did not share this actually. So the pub where you and me
Mm.
worked on the design together, and that was the first project where I did things properly. I actually achieved 100K more on the GTV
Hmm.
just I think just on the basis of the way the property looked and the way the property was designed and the way it was furnished and all of that. And it really blew me away because despite so many delays and added interest costs and whatever happened in that project, we got the end value more than what we sort of hoped for. Really moved me, and I just wanted to turn that into a business, saying that how we can effectively and functionally design projects where you can achieve more, a good, I would say 20 to 30% more just on the basis of design. So I'm quite passionate about it. So I wanted to create a service where I can do the same for other developers and investors. And it's something that I really enjoy. So why not turn it into a business?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. And I think design, well, I've been beating this drum for a long time, haven't I? But it's powerful, like you mentioned there about your GDV ad, which you didn't expect, which is pretty rare and
No, not at
fantastic.
all. Not at all. I didn't expect it at all. But that was where I realized how powerful design can be. And design always wins, I realized.
Yeah, it does. It does. And but also for you as well, the service accommodation that you've created is really high performers with high occupancy rates as well, which have superseded, I think, what you baked in your numbers. So everyone's really happy with the day-to-day performance of the asset now, aren't they, as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the sort of guest reviews that we've had on the property, they really appreciate the design. They really appreciate what a calm, artsy space it is to live in. And the fact that it's quite unique to the market.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? Because I remember when we first started working together, and one of the first things I'll always do for any project similar to this is kind of let's go and have a look at the competition. And you think Bristol is going to be like a market leader of serviced accommodation. Everything's going to be like really, unique and inspirational. And there were like two people that were okay. And I was like, what? I thought Bristol would have this nailed. So that's great because where no one's doing it, there's opportunity for us. And I think, and I say this about so many different things, but it's so true. If we're quite like into the Instagram community, it's quite polarizing and we think, oh, everybody out there is doing really cool design led spaces. They're not. Whichever strategy you're talking about, they're really not. Most of the world's still kind of painting everything white. Like this is the best case scenario. They're painting things kind of white with a grey kitchen in and everything's a bit cold and it's new, but it's just a bit like, oh, there's no execution or kind of thought in there. That's the best of what's out there. And then there's the rest, which is, your tired magnolia, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it, it's not design led and thought out. Whereas obviously for you with the Grosvenor, that's in a place where it's such a cool part of the city centre and there's so much history there. And we really took every consideration with that place and didn't we like, okay, what we're painting on the outside, well, what did it used to be here? And we look back in the history and we've got all the paint references. And because ultimately, like we wanted to create an experience that people would remember and keep coming back to. And obviously that is now trickling through on the results. So for me as well, I'm really proud that that's been achieved because by default, that means I've done a good job with you. So, I'm really happy about that. So your design service then, what is the service? Talk me through that. What's on offer and to who?
So we would specialize in HMO serviced apartments and flips specifically. So it would be a full comprehensive design service, including staging uh, for property developers, investors, where they can leave all their worries with me
Mhm.
in regards to how to design property, optimizing floor plans, and so on, and we could work with their construction team, take full responsibility on board to deliver a great product.
I think as well, for me, I'm the biggest fan of. There's been a couple of people that have come into my world that have done design businesses within the property development space that I've supported. And they're also developers. And I think that is the key to why this works. Because when you're a developer yourself and you understand the highs and lows and how things need to be, what tenants need, what clients need, and then you've got the design eye and you can put those two things together, you can systemize it. That is the best possible product to offer to another developer because you really get the pain points and you really
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what budgets are like and kind of, what the problems, maybe it's HMO and it's like things we need to also consider for like amenity standards or compliance, like whatever it might be. If you've got that developer experience and you can design, that's where it becomes really powerful. So I think for you, that's going to be of a huge benefit for your future customer base. Um, from a design point of view, what do you think the biggest challenges are for developers to kind of think about?
I think the main thing that I've noticed, and this includes me before we started working together, was to really think about the end user and
Mm.
not just create a pretty product, but think about the functionality and optimizing the place, keeping the end user in mind. I think that is the biggest challenge, wherein people just make things pretty, or they've seen something on Pinterest or Instagram and they try to create a product which is
Yeah.
similar to that, but they're not really thinking about how somebody's going to live there, what are the amenities they need, what sort of space they need. And I don't think so there's much thought to that. So that, I believe, is the biggest challenge. But this is where we really, grill and dig into when we take on any project. So in my experience, I've designed over 23 properties that are in my own portfolio. So I come from a space of having that experience of making all the mistakes, and now being at the other side, wherein I'm really thinking about the end user. I have things systemized, and there's a structure in place.
Yeah, definitely love that. Obviously, I think as well, the other thing is that's really important and is what you mentioned there that people just get those pictures at the end. That's great. But if we don't have the functioning, we won't have the longevity of the asset, which means you'll get churn. So like,
Yeah.
you get empty buildings, which just kills your bottom line and your performance. So that's like what we're trying to retain our customer in there by giving them a better experience. The other thing as well, and this is something that, you and I have worked on for you to put into your buildings and your design business, is how to create cohesion. So that's
Yeah.
making sure that a building is cohesive. So you go, from the outside, you go in, you walk around, and that experience just goes on and on and on and on, and the whole thing's cohesive because that is what creates real uniqueness in a design
Yeah.
in a building. So I'm very excited to, I'm your biggest fan and cheerleader. So I'm excited to watch this design business grow in Bristol. So before you mentioned, I've got to ask you this question. It wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you this question. Obviously, you've got two little boys. How old are your boys?
One is 5 years old, 5.5. And the other is 10 months old today, actually.
So how is the mum juggle? Because obviously you're bringing in another part to the business. How is the mum juggle? How do you manage to do so much with two little boys under your belt?
Well, I just tend to include them in everything I do,
Oh,
rather than taking them as okay, can they come to the site? Can they, go everywhere with me? I just include them, and my 5-year-old, I actually tell him about what I do and how I work and all of that, and he understands it. And the little one, he's cool as ever. He just wants to go everywhere with me, and he's fine. And I think that inclusiveness of taking my boys everywhere with me is what works.
yeah.
I just include them in whatever I do, and I haven't seen any any problems with that. I mean, it's again going back to the motto: just get on with it.
Yeah, 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 definitely. We'll have to have you a t-shirt made. I'm going to have a t-shirt made with that on a slogan for you. Lovely people, I'm just going to jump in because there's something very exciting I want to talk to you about. My new business and property mastermind, Elevate to 8. I'll be running Elevate to 8 with my good friend Sam Lowney from Merry Oaks, and it will take place, wait for it, in the incredible Shoreditch in East London. The programme will be a perfect mix of group, one-to-ones, accountability and support. We're going to be hosting lots of incredible social events throughout East London, and we'll be inviting the most amazing leading industry experts within property and business to come along and be part of our programme. Now, this programme really is for those that have already started their business but are looking to grow and scale up towards those 8 figures. Whether it's you want to build your property portfolio out or you really want to grow your property related business out, Elevate to 8 is for you. I want to make you a promise. Like I have, thought long and hard about this program and how it can have a real benefit to our members. It's completely unique, very experiential, and I want you to be part of it. If this sounds good, head to the show notes below, click on the link and read all the information about how you can join Elevate to 8. What that makes me think about is, being able to take the boys and just getting on with what you need to do. It's when you're self-employed, you got your own business, you create the culture, don't you? Like you create the culture of how things want to be. So like the kids are included, that's part of life. So, and I think that's a really beautiful thing to be able to do. So I guess kind of like my sort of final question then, if somebody's sat there and they're thinking maybe one or two things from your point of view. One, I'd like to, and I think I know how you're going to answer this. I'd like to go into property, but I'm scared to start. I've got young kids, or I want to have kids as well, or I want to start my own business. I've got a lot going on. Like, what would your one bit of advice be to someone?
I think my advice would be um, get some education, get a strategy in place, get a mentor if possible, get some structure in place in terms of what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it, get the right people in the place to help you, and just focus on that. And when you focus on that, everything else falls in place. That's how I did it, and that's how I believe you can make it work as well. Is having that support is the ultimate thing, because when you're on your own, and property can be quite a
Mm,
lonely place if you are on your own. So I think I've always had mentors and I've training in place to make sure that I'm not making silly mistakes, and I'm not like making it complicated for me. Rather than that, I would just have the clarity, a strategy in place, and somebody to hold my hand to ask if I'm doing the right thing. And I think every single year that I have invested, so it's been pretty much 10 years, I've always had somebody, either some sort of training, some sort of education, some
Mm.
sort of mentor, to just make sure that I'm doing the right thing, because that investment, it always pays you back. And another thing that I read somewhere, um, which is something I really really follow, is that the first investment you make should be in yourself. So when you get a mentor, you invest in yourself, and that would pay you back massively in return, and it would also make the journey more sort of enjoyable, because you don't have to complicate it for yourself.
And it is an investment into the business and into you in the long term. Spot on. So, Shally, if people would like to find you, how can they? Where are you?
You can find me on Instagram. My my brand is called Isteni. So ISTENI. Just find me on Instagram and you can get in touch. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure for you to be my first guest on the BEESPACE podcast in 2025. But I do want to ask you though, will you come back later in the year and let us know how the design business is going?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thank you so much for having me on board. I really, really appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure just kind of looking back at what we've been doing for a while now, and talking all about it. So I'm quite nostalgic at the moment. But thank you so much. And definitely we'll have a chat about how the design business goes on. I'm sure it's going to do well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shally.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for another episode of the BEESPACE podcast. I've been your host, Jade McNeil, property developer, mentor, and business coach. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite platforms. And until next time, remember, don't believe the hype and always keep it real.